In a quiet mountain village, surrounded by mist and mango trees, there lived a young man named Kelechi. He was 24, tall, kind-eyed, and gifted with hands that could carve life out of wood. From childhood, he dreamed of being a sculptor, not just any sculptor, but one whose art would speak for generations. He imagined creating statues so beautiful that travelers would come from distant towns just to see them. When he talked about his dreams, his eyes glowed. But Kelechi had one weakness: fear. Fear of failure. Fear of what people would say. Fear that he wasn't good enough. So every time he picked up his chisel, he froze. He told himself, "I will start tomorrow. When I'm ready." But tomorrow never came. Others in the village worked: farmers, carpenters, potters. They rose with the sun, their hands stained with effort. But Kelechi sat by his window, sketching dreams and whispering excuses. His mother would sigh. "My son, you cannot carve your destiny by thinking about it." And Kelechi would smile weakly. "I just need time, Mama. You'll see. I will create something great." But deep inside, he was afraid. One cool evening, as the orange sun sank behind the hills, Kelechi's grandfather came to visit. The old man was once a blacksmith, his hands rough like stone but his eyes bright with wisdom. He watched Kelechi sitting quietly beside an untouched block of wood. "My son," he said softly, "you've been staring at that wood for months. Why have you not begun?" Kelechi lowered his head. "Grandfather, I want it to be perfect. I don't want to fail." The old man smiled sadly. He reached into his pouch and brought out 2 small pieces of glowing charcoal, one red and warm, the other dark and cold. He placed them in Kelechi's palms. "These," he said, "are the 2 fires of life. The red one burns with courage. The dark one burns with fear. Both live inside every heart. Whichever fire you feed will decide the shape of your life." Kelechi looked confused. "How do I feed them?" The old man replied, "Every time you act, even when you are afraid, you feed courage. Every time you delay, doubt, or hide, you feed fear. Be careful, my son. Fear grows faster than courage, and it can burn your dreams to ashes." Then he stood up and left, leaving Kelechi staring at the 2 glowing coals in his hands. That night, Kelechi couldn't sleep. He looked at the red coal, small but alive. He looked at the black one, still, yet heavy. He whispered, "I will feed courage. Tomorrow, I will start carving." But when the morning came, fear whispered again, and Kelechi said, "Tomorrow. Definitely tomorrow." Days passed. Then weeks. Kelechi spent more time dreaming than doing. He watched others succeed, a friend who opened a workshop, another who sold crafts in the market. He clapped for them but felt a hollow ache inside. He told himself, "I'll start when I have better tools. I'll start when I'm more confident. I'll start when the time is right." Each excuse was like a piece of wood he threw into the fire of fear. And that fire grew, quietly, invisibly, consuming his courage. The red coal grew dim. The black one grew hot and heavy, filling his heart with smoke. Whenever he tried to work, his mind whispered, "You'll fail. You'll embarrass yourself. Others are better than you." The more he listened, the weaker he became. Months turned into a year. His workshop gathered dust. The once sharp chisel rusted. One day, while walking through the village square, Kelechi saw a statue unveiled, a carving of a woman holding a child, so lifelike that it seemed to breathe. The sculptor was Tari, a boy younger than him. The crowd cheered. Kelechi smiled outwardly, but his heart sank. That could have been him. That should have been him. That night, he sat alone in his room, surrounded by silence. He looked at the 2 coals. The red one was barely glowing. The black one burned bright and fierce. For the first time, Kelechi realized the truth. He had been feeding his fear all along. A few days later, his grandfather returned. He found Kelechi sitting among unfinished carvings, head bowed in shame. "My son," the old man said, "show me your fire." Kelechi opened his palms. The red coal was almost dead, while the black one smoked with thick, dark heat. The old man nodded slowly. "So, fear has been eating your courage." Tears filled Kelechi's eyes. "Grandfather, I wanted to be great. But every time I tried, fear stopped me. Now I have nothing. I wasted my time. I fed the wrong fire." The old man put a hand on his shoulder. "Listen carefully, Kelechi. Fear is greedy. It grows on neglect. But courage is patient. Even a dying spark can rise again if you feed it daily." He took the red coal and placed it gently on the hearth. Then he added dry leaves and blew softly. The coal flickered weakly. "See?" he said. "Even the smallest fire can return to life. But you must feed it, every day, with action." He looked deeply into his grandson's eyes. "The only cure for fear is motion. One small act of courage each day will turn your ember into a flame." Then he stood and left. Kelechi sat silently, staring at the faint glow of the red coal. It was weak, but alive. And for the first time, he felt something stir within him, a spark of determination. The next morning, before sunrise, Kelechi woke up. His hands trembled as he touched the rough wood on his workbench. He whispered, "Just one stroke today." He lifted the chisel and struck. Clink. It was uneven, small, but it was a start. The next day, he struck again. And again. Each day, one small act. The red fire inside him began to grow. His fear still whispered, but his courage answered louder. Days turned into weeks. Blisters covered his palms, sweat drenched his shirt, but his heart was alive. At night, he looked at the two coals again. The red one glowed brighter than before. The black one had cooled. He smiled. "I am feeding the right fire." Months later, the wooden block that once mocked him began to take shape, the shape of a bird spreading its wings. It was not perfect, but it was his. And for the first time, he felt proud. One morning, villagers gathered outside his workshop. They watched in awe as he unveiled his first sculpture, the Bird of Courage. They clapped, not because it was flawless, but because they saw his heart in it. Even Tari, the other sculptor, shook his hand. "You did it, Kelechi," he said. Kelechi smiled. "No, my friend. I started. And that made all the difference." Years passed. Kelechi became the most respected sculptor in the region. He built a small school where he taught children how to carve wood and courage together. Whenever a student said, "I'm afraid I can't do it," Kelechi would smile and tell them the story of the two fires. He kept the two coals in a small box near his table, one glowing red, one black and cold, as a reminder of his own journey. He would tell them, "Inside every one of us, two fires burn. One burns with fear, the other with courage. You cannot put out fear completely, but you can decide which one grows. Feed courage, even with tiny acts. Feed it with effort, with discipline, with faith. Because fear needs nothing to grow. Courage needs everything." And as he spoke, his students listened with wide eyes and brave hearts. Dear listener, Kelechi's story is not just about sculpture, it is about life. Every one of us holds two fires inside. One is fear, it whispers, delays, and destroys. The other is courage, it builds, fights, and creates. Fear grows on neglect. Courage grows on action. Every time you take a small step toward your dream, even when afraid, you feed the fire that lights your path. Every time you delay, doubt, or make excuses, you feed the fire that burns your potential. So, which one will you feed today? If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.